Well, hello, that's me again. Today is October 30th, 2024. It is Wednesday, it is a hump day. And what you see in the beginning is of the video is why Russians call artillery god of war. And that's god of war which is working in Ukraine or whatever is left of it. And this is basically the pivot of today's discussion because things are getting really crazy out there. And one of the craziest things was the fact that Mr. Zelensky asked the United States for Tomahawk missiles. The question immediately which comes up in this case, what kind of Tomahawks he is asking? Because, yeah, there are the air-launched Tomahawks. They are launched by primarily things such as the B-52s and all other types of the strategic bombers. And I'm not even sure that it is a viable missile anymore. It's still there. It does exist. So it tells you desperation and absolute, insanity of Zelensky, who is, well, pretty much in a very interesting pickle, let's put it this way, currently with his plans, or whatever the plans were made for him in London and Washington. But here are some very interesting things which testify to the, well, I would say, what describes the term Ukrainstva in Russian. It's literally translates as Ukrainianship. That's what it is, like statesmanship, this is Ukrainianship. This is the type of the mental and, cultural setup which allows you to live in the delusion non-stop. And basically we're talking about, when we talk about special military operation, we are dealing in Ukraine with a nation which, well, went completely bananas. And this is the signs of it, the manifestations of this, you can find everywhere, from people wearing the, kettles and pots on the heads, during the, whatever, protestations on Maidan, to basically some claims which are not really done by people who are in any connection with the reality. And obviously there is a very dark downside to all that, which involves, of course, the war crimes such as killing civilians, raping them, marauding. That's what armed forces of Ukraine do. But obviously things like, violating every single item on the Geneva Convention, like torturing Russian POWs, and sometimes absolutely horrendous tortures. People die because of that. This is what actually defines this nation, and it was defining it for the last few, I'll say, decades, maybe at least 30 years. And it's not just because obviously there is a reason for all that, the collapse of the Soviet Union, but just to demonstrate to you to what degree of the imbecility everything came down in Ukraine. And actually this is what, if there are any normal people left in Washington DC, I'm talking about the Biden administrations, they have to be asking questions now, what we got ourselves into. And, well, you sleep with the dogs, you get up with the fleas. And we already can observe the Ukrainization of the whole American foreign policy, apart from being the part of the run by Israel. So it's really creepy. But there is, how to put it, absolutely insane things happening. And here is Mr. Zelensky talking about this. This is remarkable, really. And actually, it's machine translation, but it is it doesn't convey the whole desperation, so to speak, of the Russian language or Ukrainian language in which it was made. But today, Zelensky announced that the retreat of the armed forces of Ukraine at the front due to a lack of military personnel. And he is beginning to play, this guy who evidently wants to convey or project some kind of care about lives of the soldiers, which of course we know he doesn't care a bit, as don't do the same thing people from Washington and London. And he says that Ukraine is retreating on the front line due to a lack of military personnel in the ranks of the armed forces of Ukraine. President Vladimir Zelensky told reporters. His words are quoted by the publication country Strana.io. It's their main actually media outlet online. And when there is a choice to stay and die, then of course retreat, guys, save soldiers, save people, he said. Well, this is essentially what he announces here, is to run, guys. Well, it's a little bit too late for the, telling his soldiers to run. I mean, it's pretty much a done deal. And this kind of change of the mood of Zelensky, not that he really cares about the lives of his soldiers, is very simple. As the London Economist testifies, and this is the establishment, the bullhorn of the establishment, Anglo-American establishment. They say Ukraine is now struggling to survive, not to win. Well, it was yesterday. And the question which immediately, pops up in this respect is, where have you been, guys, when literally half a year ago you were pronouncing that Ukraine can win, we just need to get more of the supplies to Ukraine, but here we are, Ukraine is now struggling to survive, not to win, and Russia is slicing through Ukrainian defenses in parts of the battlefield. Well, it's not the parts of the battlefield. And if we go and take a look now at the, tactical, if you wish, at operational situation, we can see that here are the trends. They're coming out now, evidently after Mr. Austin visited Kiev a few days ago, and he told Zelensky basically to wrap these things up because, United States lost. And their best proxy the United States ever had was completely demolished. And here we have these statements now that today, as you can see yourself, that more than 100,000 Ukrainian soldiers have deserted or went AWOL during the conflict with Russia, Ukrainian legislator Anna Skorokhod said on Tuesday. And she says that I will not tell you the exact number of people who deserted and went AWOL, but will say it is over 100,000, Skorokhod said. So, if you look attentively at the statistics of what is happening right now at the front, you can see yourself. This is for yesterday. We have, the butcher's bill is just absolutely insane. No NATO army can even imagine what it is to be embroiled in this kind of the activity against Russian forces, despite all those, pathos-ridden statements. But here we are, yesterday, 2,660, 8 tanks and APCs, 26 armored vehicles, artillery, 40 pieces of artillery and mortars. Another MLRS was destroyed. And if you look at the map, we call on our good friend Marat Khairulin. Here is the map on the yesterday. It's Ugledar. As you can see yourself, the breakthroughs are happening after Russians captured or liberated Ugledar. And as you can see yourself, the movement is everywhere. This is just Ugledar area, or operational axis, if you wish. Then we have Kupiansk. As you can see yourself, Kupiansk is, how to put it politely, it's over for Kupiansk, and that is why they announced, they declared a few days ago the mandatory evacuation of everybody, including civilian population. Obviously, some of the civilian population people will stay there, but if you look attentively at the Kupiansk area, not good. Number of the cauldrons, and the annihilation continues non-stop. Did anybody even doubt that this will happen? Anybody thought that any other outcome was possible? Tragically, yes. Tragically, yes, and that's, we can say it now with a great conviction, because obviously when you look at people who run things in Washington or in London or in the West in general, it's absolutely stunning. They are that is stupid, and they are that incompetent. So now we have this whole it's difficult to say even how to frame it properly. It is over for Ukraine, and the question now that even Washington Post, and this is the guys who were one of the main enablers of their people in Ukraine committing all kinds of insane things. But even Washington Post today, look at this. They just, oh my God, this is today. They write about that Biden once framed the successful defense of Ukraine as a rejection of a world where might makes right. Well, I have news for people who really believe in this BS of the democratic order and rules-based order. Rules-based order is the American imperialism. It's basically dictating to everybody what they have to do once the United States wants them to do something. So this phase, so to speak, of the history of humanity is over. United States have been defeated, I mean, tremendously. And so what we have now, well, guess what? They talk that by next year, the grim reality of the conflict may yield a scenario where Russia largely gets its way. Kiev's forces are desperately trying to hold on the line of the country of East. Well, it's not really that they're desperate anymore. They are primarily pummeled into utter submission, and some of them run, others who do not run, they are killed. So, and they talk about, Washington Post about that they need more soldiers. Well, it's more than that. They need more than soldiers. They do not understand how the war is fought. And obviously, not understanding this, which I agree actually in the sense that obviously it's clear that Kiev is running out of manpower. It's clear as, the clear as day. But the point here is, what doesn't even mean Russia largely gets its way? Russia is in a position to do whatever she wants now with Ukraine. But the point, as I already stated many times, and if you follow me with other friends with whom we have all kinds of podcasts, like Garland Nixon, Scott Ritter, Larry Johnson, and other podcasts, I constantly stress that Kremlin and Russian society at large, they are facing this dilemma because they understand that Ukrainstva, this Ukrainianship, is a phenomenon which you cannot deny. It lives there. A political nation of Ukraine kind of happened. It evolved. It's an ugly phenomenon. It's freakish, but it is there. And to break this, or even if you want to break it, do you need to do something about it in terms of the territorial possessions and then establishing their normal civilization, which Russians usually do. Whenever Russians go, they build cities, they build schools, they build libraries, they build hospitals, and things of this nature. They build infrastructure. So do they need to go and do it to the rest of this Ukrainian nation, Ukrainianship, which suffers from Ukrainianship? I don't know. But as I already stressed many times, you do not hear anymore Vladimir Putin stating that Ukrainians are brotherly people to Russia. And many Russians, very many Russians, I would dare to say and go out on a limb here that probably the majority of Russians, they do not view Ukrainians as brotherly people anymore. They actually, there is a wholesale rejection in Russia of all this Ukrainianship as a viable concept of building the nation. But it does exist. We have to keep this in mind. And so, can Russia go and take Kyiv? Yeah. Russia can go now and invest, in Kharkov, for example, and it will fall like a ripe fruit. You don't have to attack it. You don't have to, take the city. Go street by street. Trying to liberate it. No, you just surround it, cut off the, all kinds of lines of communications, and the thing happens. Just fall on its own. But what are you gonna do with those people? How are you going to educate them when they are so brainwashed that we are talking literally about the zombie nation? And as just to demonstrate to you, apart from Zelensky suddenly, giving this, not orders, pleading, just go on, guys, save yourself, is the fact that Mr. Kuchma, the former president of Ukraine, second president of Ukraine, and the author of the famous his magnum opus. It's the most pseudo-academic collection of the BS I ever read in my life. It's called "Ukraine is Not Russia." He comes out yesterday and he tells that, you know what, we need to absolutely, maintain the connection and communications with Russia, because after this all over, Russia will need to pay reparations to us. And after you lift your jaw from the floor reading this, you will understand that's Ukrainian ship in a full-blown manifestation and its all beauty, the bloom of Ukrainian ship. We lost the war, we are completely destroyed, but Russia needs to pay reparations to us. Really? I never heard this. But this is how they think. This is what they think, because they believe they are so incredible nation that, yeah, United States has to give them tomahawks. United States has to fight for them now, So no, doesn't work like this, but they do not understand that. And of course, we have the situation very similar to what happened to Germans after the World War II. After German population, general populations have been correctly taken to the movie theaters, and they were shown documentaries of the incredible atrocities and what has been committed in the name of the Third Reich and German exceptionalism in concentration camps and death camps. And many people couldn't watch it. They couldn't believe it. And some people still don't believe it. There's a whole school of thought in Germany that it was, oh my God, it was under Hitler we were doing great, the tip-top shape, and things like that. That explains to you something which we have to keep in mind when we talk about these people. And we'll talk about Germany a little bit more, but here we have the situation. Even New York Times, so they confirm now, yesterday, with limited options, Zelensky seeks a path forward for Ukraine, a muted response to Ukraine's victory plan, and steep challenges on the battlefield leave Kyiv searching for a plan B. First, there is no plan B, as I already stated. In order for you to have any kind of plan, you have to have resources. This is the foundation of strategy. Neither Washington nor, let alone Kyiv, they do strategy. They do not understand what strategy is. They think that you have to, write declared aims, and that's strategy. No, this is not how strategy works. So New York Times continues that, with waning Western support, losses along the Eastern Front and in the Kursk region of Russia, and the looming US elections that could mean a drastically different policy towards Ukraine, Mr. Zelensky might have few other options. Okay, immediately which have to be explained. It doesn't matter who wins. United States simply doesn't have resources to support Ukraine. And then we have the catastrophe for Israel in Lebanon. United States has to support Israel. And of course, Israel and the Israeli lobby owns US Congress. And so they talk about, he has to go cap in hand to push the plan, sort of carve out a position, and then they say at home, having asked that this is now what we have to do, said Michael John Williams, a professor of international relations at Syracuse University and a former advisor to NATO. He added, at least he can say he's tried, he has exhausted the possibilities. So yes, he did. Absolutely, we knew that, but it's not him. It is the combined West which exhausted the possibilities, because obviously nobody in the combined West, starting from Pentagon to General Staff in London to Bundeswehr, whatever the structures they have, understand what modern war is. They have been taught. They have been taught the lesson, and they have been taught the lesson in strategy, of course, which none of them can do. So while they continue now to do with this nonsense about the Ukrainian president is using the arrival of the North Korean troops to fight alongside the Russians in Kursk, confirmed by the head of NATO. Mr. Rutte is an imbecile, and there is no confirmation of anything, of any kind of this North Korean troops on the line of the combat contact. They are training at the Far East with Russians, and they did it on many occasions before. So they continue to push this garbage to maybe try to provoke Russia, or maybe, again, as I already stated, to make the commercialization of this conflict real in order for to have some kind of the path, so to speak, or rational path. They think that it's rational, have some boots on the ground saying, yeah, Russians, look, you're using those North Koreans, we use our French soldiers to have their boots on the ground somewhere in Western Ukraine. It's all garbage. And you can listen to Judge Napolitano and Colonel Douglas McGregor yesterday, and the colonel, who has a good, let's say, connections in Pentagon, he says it's absolute nonsense. There are no North Koreans, but yeah, it is also probably used as the lever to say, okay, let's shoot in, deep into Russian territory. Okay, try. See what happens, so that's what happens. It's complete desperation. They know they lost now, and especially when you see yourself what is happening in the northern Lebanon, which is complete mauling of the Israeli Defense Force. And as the result, we have some, really crazy stuff is going on. Here's the guy. He is, remarkably, his name is kind of derivative of Russian name, General of Yakovlev. Of a double F in the end. He's French, and this is LCI, and he talks about the fact that actually Trump is controlled by Putin. So what can I say? We literally have the degenerates basically being present in the legacy media in the West and running the combined West. So if that hasn't been enough, that we know now that, obviously Russians control Trump, we have now these idiots. Look at this. It's New York Times. As you can see yourself, again, it's yesterday. How Russia, China, and Iran are interfering in the presidential elections. Okay. Here is, you see these three creeps. They think though they know anything. No, they know they're horse. They write what they are told to write. And look at this. When Russia interfered in the 2016 US presidential election, spreading divisive and inflammatory posts online to stoke outrage. So you see, you post the post or you write the book, so that means you interfere. No matter what you do, you sneeze, you interfered in the US election. Of course, this the whole thing was dismantled completely, yet here you are. New York Times, yesterday, they continued this story. That is why, as Mr. Bezos correctly stated, when his Washington Post refused to endorse Kamala Harris, because mainstream media in the United States is trash, as are most people who work there. That is why youth doesn't read them, correctly so. People under 40 do not read New York Times, Washington Post, and they do not watch CNN. They go into the alternative outlets, and rightly so, because basically everything what is happening with media in the United States is a bankrupt propaganda machine, populated with people who have no integrity, honor, or for that matter, any kind of appropriate skills to be called journalists. So there you go. But they continue with this non-stop, because they evidently feel the history coming. And this has nothing to do if, for example, Mr. Trump will be elected in a few days. It has nothing to do with this. It has everything to do with the fact that that's how defeat is felt. It's felt across the economic, it feels across the political, it feels across military, so to speak, sectors of the human life. And we are related to military non-stop, be them through their culture, through entertainment, through what have you. Even those people who never served a day in the armed forces. But there you go, you begin to feel it. You have this feeling. And so if that, you think so, that's the feeling is not a viable, so to speak, a criterion, well, it is. For starters, we can have to mention this. Mr. Wang Yi, the foreign minister of China, speaking to his Russian deputy foreign minister Andrei Rudenko, stated that the BRICS was a complete, the BRICS summit was held in Kazan under the chairmanship of President of Russia and was crowned with complete success, the diplomat stressed. Yes, when you look attentively how even India and China settled their border dispute, it's amazing. Apart from all kinds of other things which were happening there, which we spoke in the previous videos when I was making them. And just to tell you that, and if you think so, why do we know that those people really begin to feel that something is happening and something big is coming, well, which it is coming. Here it is. Schallenberg's German Chancellor welcoming party again yesterday. This is about Gerhard Schröder. And you have to understand, when we talk about Gerhard Schröder, we're talking about very close personal friend of Vladimir Putin. And guess what? Mr. Schröder was ostracized specifically for his position about Russia and his close ties to Vladimir Putin. Asked by German Stern magazine whether there was a room for Schröder in the senior ranks of the SPD, which is the Social Democratic Party of Germany, the main party together with Greens, which is responsible for selling out to the United States and literally humiliating Germany and deindustrializing it, then suddenly they need Schröder. And they say that, incoming General Secretary Matthias Mersch replied, yes, otherwise Gerhard Schröder would have had to be expelled from the party. Mersch, who was named as the party new leader earlier this month, told Stern on Monday that he can appreciate Schröder's life work as a whole, even if I have a fundamentally different view on Putin and the attack on Ukraine. And Mr. Mersch, whatever, he says that he built upon Mr. Schröder's work. What is Mr. Schröder's work? Well, I can tell you. Mr. Schröder and Mr. Putin were building absolutely new Russian-German relations, with Russia being not just, it was a very promising, actually, direction. But we know what happened, right? So Mr. Schröder was ostracized from the party. His party was the one which, provided, those leopards which are burning now at the battlefields, including in Kursk. Gosh, what tradition. So, and they don't have Nord Stream 2 anymore. Germany is being deindustrialized at accelerated rate. And what can I say? Suddenly, the party, which will be probably pummeled in the elections, they need Schröder to save them and to maybe be the guy who will have to tell, as many people assume, or making hypotheses about it, that Schröder has to go out and say to Ukrainians, it's over. Germany is not going to support you. And believe me, Germany was the largest beneficiary of the so the guys who contributed most after the United States to the cause of Ukraine, which is the cause of killing Russians. And what we have now, that Mr. Schröder is coming back to the party, and they will try to save their face. They cannot. The SPD is the Nazi party, this is a party of the immoral people, creeps. And so whatever Schröder will be doing, there's no going back. Russians don't like Germans anymore. Germany betrayed Russian-German relations, which would have finally healed this, what happened in the World War II. And for example, for many people in, for example, Western world, in the United States or Great Britain, they do not even have comprehension of what happened on the Eastern Front and what happened in the Soviet Union. But now it's over. These were German tanks which invaded Kursk Oblast, So what can I say? That's it. It's over. And as as Leo Tolstoy once stated, after the treason or after the betrayal, you still can forgive. It's like your hands were broken. You still can forgive, but you will not be able to hug. And this is exactly what happened in Russian-German relations, and Russians don't want to hear about Germany anymore. They don't want to see Germany anymore, majority of them anyway, and this is the price Germany has to pay. And it's paying it, and it will accelerate. And Mr. Schröder, he might try whatever he can try, but personal relations do not come into this that much, because this was historic mistake of historic proportion for Germany. And Germany and combined West, they have to pay the price. And it's coming. It's already here, actually. And this is what I wanted to tell you today, guys. And as usual, those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel. And those who can afford, please support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee and two. And I'll be talking to you later, guys. Have a nice rest of the week. Bye-bye.